Hi. Alrighty. How are you? How are you? I'm doing well. I haven't been doing some streams for a few days. We've been pretty busy. I've been able to do some organizing, but it's been slow going. So I'm just trying to take everything very, very easy, and I've been finding some great motivation. Um, I'm feeling a lot better after my fall a few weeks ago. Um, got to have a nice brunch with my friends from high school. So that was really nice thing to do yesterday. Um, I posted a lot of things in the description for today. Those are some of the more recent things I've been looking into. I included a lot of the books that I've been talking about recently. I started this channel February 22nd, 2022. I've been going for 2 months, and I have been devouring quite a lot of books in that time. So my list from today's description does not include every single thing I've read, but it's what I'm working through right now. And briefly, I just want to show this great book I've been reading with the kids. Now, this version is illustrated by Attilio Mussino. So he came out with this edition in Italy in 1911. The illustrator took a year to do the illustrations, and they're just awesome. And we got all the way up to chapter 9 yesterday. And Pinocchio is just a bad boy. And my son's been struggling, just getting really angry and hitting and stuff. So we are reading Pinocchio, and he actually listened to me read like 8 chapters last night before he fell asleep. So that's a fun book to be reading again. Read it with my daughter years ago. That edition was given to my son. It was given to my husband by his parents in 1995. So it's a nice little family heirloom. And I've also been reading Thomas Sheridan's Puzzling People, The Labyrinth of the Psychopath. And it sounds weird, but it's sort of like a letter to the people that have been victims of psychopaths. And maybe you don't even know that that's what it is. And I think that's what I've been going through. And my goal here on this channel is to just be quite vulnerable, because I've played the part of having it all together. And even though I'm sure many people see through that, especially the ones closest to me, but I was always aiming to project this like, oh yeah, I'm happy and I've got it all together, even when I haven't. So this book is helping me to identify a number of things just with life and dealing with people, and the people from our past that somehow their memories still haunt us, even though maybe we've been distanced from them, they're out of our lives. But it's like people say things will get better with time, but now having lived a few decades and having time to reflect, I just realize there's some things that just don't get better. Maybe you bury those feelings for a time, but it's like they come back and it can feel just as raw as if no time had passed. So I'm thinking of just constantly ways I can reset myself when I get anxious. And for me, that's when I get debilitated, when I cannot deal with what I'm supposed to be dealing with. And I do the sort of bury my head in the sand sort of thing. So I'm trying to learn how to be accountable for my behaviors, but then in that same way, forgive myself for, that those behaviors being a means of communication, for better or worse, because I didn't know how to express myself in a healthy way. I didn't know how to manage myself in a healthy way. And I think that's an interesting corollary with the story of Pinocchio, because he's a marionette. He's made of wood. All he wants to be is a real boy. And the marionette is so bad. He's always getting himself into trouble. So it's kind of a nice example of that battle within ourselves. How do I become a real person? How do I stay kind and loving and yet also have my wits about me, creating boundaries, if you will, to say, oh, no, that kind of behavior, I will not tolerate that, and that won't be in my life. But then not putting walls around ourselves and preventing us from having, a loving, fulfilling, genuine relationships. So that's the big theme going on right now for me. It's been awesome connecting to a friend who just sends me a bunch of interesting articles and topics to explore. And I don't want people to think that all the content I share or anything that I'm watching or any of these topics that I'm pondering, that I know anything about them or believe in them or whatever. I just want to consider these things, because if nothing else, we are understanding other people's perspectives, and it's good to know how to relate to those perspectives, because you at least know what they're trying to talk about. You can debunk it all day long. You can be a skeptic and not believe in anything. But knowing about the subjects, I think, is super important, whether or not you want to buy into it. So that's what I'm looking into. And one of the things I find really fascinating is this space weather. And I included a link to Suspicious Observer's channel. He talks about our star, the sun, and what it's been doing. And I find it really interesting, although way over my head at this point. That's still a really, really interesting channel to get you started in the subject, just learning about space weather. I think it's really good. I'm trying to imagine the world in which my children are going to be my age. 20, 30 years. What kind of jobs are there going to be? And what subjects are they going to be interested in? So I'm trying to dig through everything right now just to stay engaged in the world and not be isolated and not be in like an echo chamber of just one school of thought. So I think this has been the perfect time for me through some emotional healing and some dealing with my demons in that space, I've been able to go back to my interests in the academics, in the sense of literature, philosophy, history, and that has been so exciting. And I never knew what job I wanted to do, so I never knew what university degree certificate I should get. So I never did get a college degree, even though I worked for a state university for almost 20 years. I just never knew. I never knew what was a path of study that I wanted to go into, give the time to, and the money and everything. But I'm grateful that I did go to college. I did collect some really interesting books in those days, and I've been able to go back through them. Like a lot of my YouTube video searches about various subjects of history, and recently I've been watching Truthstream Media talk about the history of banking and finance in their Trust Game series. It's, of course, just like anything else, I start to study, I realize how much I don't know, and it's charging me up because a lot of their sources, I have some of these books. Not all of them. They definitely do a lot of research, and I give them a lot of props for being a media distributor that cites all their sources. That's important. Those are the folks I'm trying to find. The ones that cite their sources, the ones that don't make these claims that they know everything and that they're 100%. So anyway, I've been going through a lot of my old books and trying to give them the time that they deserved back in my 20s, and I was not capable of that at that time. I had some severe trauma issues, some emotional issues to work through. So I'm glad I'm coming out of that. And I thank you for being a part of this adventure for me. Because I'm not a great presenter. I'm not a great researcher. I don't have the great production value, but it's the process for me. That's where we're at right now. And hopefully what this develops into is really just looking at books and different types of subject matter and just saying, hey, like, if we become a community here and people start engaging in the chats and comments and such, it just expands the subjects even further. That's what I'm hoping to cultivate here. So I just thank all the people in my life that they're doing their things, they have their passions, and they're sharing them with me. And that engages me to want to learn more about them. So I think that's encouraging of the state of my mental health, that I'm really excited about things. I'm really getting that pow that Thomas Sheridan's been talking about this recently, that eureka moment, that lightning strike moment. And, maybe that's what this active sun weather is doing for us right now. It's giving us this pow energy. And for me, it's like I've been sort of tired, but I've been able to get these like, oh, yes, I can do this one thing really quick. I'm getting these bursts of motivation to complete at least just one small little task. And even though I have a lot to go, I feel like I can take on the big challenge one small bite at a time. So anyway, I could talk about a few of the other topics in the description. I've been listening to Hildegard von Blingin and her bardcore pop music covers. I can't say enough about it. It's so awesome. Go check it out. Um, it's some great fun take on pop music, and I'm not really into a lot of pop music, but she does do a cover of Enya, so I love that. That's gonna be like my funeral song, along with Always Look on the Bright Side of Life from Life of Brian. So anyway, I thank you for being part of this journey. I'm going to start keeping these videos short because I don't have a lot of engagement anyways, and I don't want to make you suffer through too long of talks until I have my crap together and I'm really able to present something about a particular topic. So I am trying to develop my second channel. It's going to be called Weird, Dark, Strange, and I'm going to be talking about folklore. So that will include some modern stories and like their origins, similar to Pinocchio, the different iterations of the story of Pinocchio, for example, because there is a new movie version of Pinocchio coming out. So I think that will be in the works, and otherwise I'm just going to keep doing some of these chats. I titled my video today, "Before Everything Shut Down, HR Made Us Stop Hugging." So I haven't worked at the Utah Jazz for 2 years now. So in early 2020, we did have these meetings where they crammed us all into a big room, conference room, and had us sign something of acknowledgement of the presentation. And it was all about, harassment and stuff like that, and how we shouldn't hug. It makes other people uncomfortable. And I can understand that, like the liability issues, corporate stuff. Just yeah, it was just something I was thinking about, because when you work in a place for decades, some of those people become more than just coworkers. Now, at the same time, maybe it is a protection that everybody needs. But I just found it interesting that that was something that they were encouraging before COVID. I miss a lot of those folks, and I wish I could give them a hug. So if you're out there watching this, I miss you. But check out some of the links in my description. I really do want to be able to provide good sources for some of the things I'm talking about. I included the Missing 411 link to the most recent episode by David Paulides. And among other things, he talks about kids committing suicide, these are elementary school kids. But yeah, it's across the board. So that's why I'm doing this. I don't think I was ever to a point in suicide where I had made any kind of plan. My version was just reckless disregard for my behavior and its consequences. So, sort of like the slow meander to suicide, because by way of, not giving a crap about myself. And so some of these folks, they're the ones you don't suspect, because they appear to have everything all together. So that's why I'm doing this imperfect, vulnerable, crummy video log. I just want to be there for one person when they need it. Maybe it's years down the road. So I just want to give you messages of love and light and support. And we'll talk again soon. Love you.